Welcome. I'm Kelly Dermody, and I'm going to take you through a search on our library website. But first, I just want to go over what type of resources you can use for your essay. So if we look at this icon here, we see that when a live event happens or a very recent event, like something happened last week or even tonight, within hours, what we're only going to have access to is eyewitness reports and newspaper, live TV, newspaper, that type of thing. We're not going to have scholarly articles or books yet because it just literally happened in the past 24 hours. The next day, we might have more in-depth coverage in newspapers and, more in-depth coverage in TV programs and online media. It's going to take within 2 months before we get, an article in a magazine like Times or Newsweek. And it's going to take 6 to 12 months before we get something published in a scholarly journal. Because it takes time to write up the research, to get it published. You have to get it reviewed by your peers. This all takes time. And then it can take 1 to 2 years before a book is published for the same reasons. The review process, finding a publisher, writing it up, this all takes time. So your events could be really, really soon. They are supposed to be within the last 3 months. So you're probably not going to find a scholarly article or a book about your topic yet. You will find newspapers, online media, and magazines covering your event or your person. So how do you get a scholarly peer-reviewed article? Because you need one for your essay. Well, you're going to look at the bigger picture. So if my topic is about something Joe Biden did recently, how he used social media really well, then I'm going to look at politicians and social media. If you're looking at an Instagram influencer, they're very new, they've done something really out there on Instagram and people are talking about it. There's quite a social life to this Instagrammer's post. There's not going to be a scholarly article on that specific person. But there are scholarly articles on how Instagram influencers are using social media to push their image. Okay? So I'm going to show you in my search how I'm going to look for the bigger topic on my very specific topic. Okay. So for example, say you wanted to do something that happened very recently, just a few weeks ago. Jagmeet Singh, he did the same thing as the ocean spray guy. He did a little cool video of him on his skateboard. And this is 6Buzz, and you can see that there's a lot of social life to this document. They're talking about Jagmeet, how he looks, what they think of him. You can go through these comments and see what a common theme is. But this is definitely a politician mastering social media. He's doing really well. So you're probably going to want to talk about how Jagmeet Singh is a master of Instagram and TikTok and stuff like that. So if you head over to our website, you might try putting his name in. So Jagmeet Singh and social media, and hit go and see what happens. Maybe there's peer-reviewed articles on him already, but there's definitely not going to be a peer-reviewed article on how he did the ocean spray guy's video, right? That literally just happened. So we do have some popular sources on him, on how he masters social media. So this was from 2017. It's old, but it will talk about his style and what he's doing. So this is a popular source. It's the Toronto Star, but it can still be one of your sources. So I would probably save it and read it. So one of the ways you can save it is to email it to yourself, and then it will send you the link back to this page. To actually read it, you can click the full text online. Okay. Then it's going to ask you to log in if you're off campus, which you are these days, and you're going to get the full text of the Jagmeet Singh article from the Toronto Star. So this Toronto Star is brought to you by ProQuest. As Val mentioned, when you use Google to search for sources, especially with newspapers, you're going to hit a paywall, but you get access to the Toronto Star for free. through ProQuest. So that's why you got to come to our website, and then you can read as many Toronto Star articles, Globe and Mail, articles that you want. So as I said before, it's a popular source, but it could be one of your sources. I would save the PDF up here, so then you can read it at any time. You don't got to go back and find the link and call it up. They have always a little cite button. So when you click this, it tries its best to put it in the format that you need. So you pick your format, whether you're doing APA or MLA. So I'm going to pick APA. And you got to double check. It gets things wrong a lot. And I'm double checking this, and I can see it got a lot wrong, right? It didn't capitalize sing, didn't put that it was from the Toronto Star, the date, or anything. So I wouldn't use this. You'd have to go, find all this information yourself by looking through this website. So May 20th, 2017, Toronto Star. Here's the title. So sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't. Okay, so if I go back to my results list and I click off peer review here on the side, because for your essay you need at least one peer-reviewed article. So if I click that, it's going to get rid of the newspapers, magazines, and books, and only give me the peer-reviewed articles. But there doesn't look to be any on Jagmeet Singh in social media. There's one about gender and fashion. You might want to look at that, but I don't know how much it's going to talk about Jagmeet Singh's social media and his mastering of it. And then we go down and it's pulling up weird results on orthopedic surgery, and that might be because there might be a Jagmeet Singh who's a professor or a famous orthopedic surgeon, right? So that's why those are coming up, but they're not what you want. Okay, so we tried his name and social media, and we didn't get a peer-reviewed. But if I try the bigger picture, so I'm just going to pop over here to another search window. And if I try politicians and image and social media and Canada, and you'll notice I put social media in quotation marks to keep those two words together when I search. But you can try different words. The thing about searching is that you have to keep coming back and trying different words. So I might try politicians and political image and Instagram and Canada. I might take away Canada to get articles from the UK and Britain, or from the UK and the US. So you got to kind of keep trying different words, coming back and doing a different search. But I'm going to try this search. So I'm going to hit go. Okay, so again, got a whole bunch of results. This one I just want to point out here is a dissertation thesis. So this is a PhD candidate's last paper. We encourage students to stay away from these. These are usually over 100 pages, and they're student research. They're PhD student research, but still, for now, we ask you to stay away from those. But as I'm scrolling down, I'm seeing some interesting sources. So this one tells me already it's a peer-reviewed. And it's about Justin Trudeau, but Justin Trudeau is a contemporary of Jagmeet. They're the same time. They're both trying to master social media. So you could use this article to compare how Justin Trudeau is doing with how Jagmeet Singh is doing. So even though it's not on him, it's still very relevant and you can still use it. Okay, so but for the purposes of this essay, we need to get you a peer review, at least one peer review article. So I'm going to click on that peer review button. Okay, the Justin Trudeau one still appears, so I would probably, email that to myself or click to read it for the full text online. And then I would just go through and read the titles to see if any jump out at me. I already reviewed this just before I made this video, and this one jumped out at me just because it talks about youth and social media and the electoral process, and it's about the case of the municipal elections in Calgary, so it's still Canadian. And I think this really relates well back to our 6Buzz video, because Jagmeet is, he's really appealing to the younger voters and using social media. So I might also want to take this one. Again, I could email it to myself, or I would click on the full text. It would ask me to log in, and then it would pop up in a second window. and it would look like this. Okay? So you could read it off, the page, or you could download the PDF. Of course, it also has that little cite button. This is a different company, but everybody uses the download PDF and everyone uses the cite button. They're just in different parts of the page. So if I click on the cite button and I'm going to choose my style, I'm going to choose APA. And if I look at this one, it's got everything right. It even did the italics for the title of the journal. It's got the page numbers. Yep, that's a good one, right? So I'm going to copy that and paste it into my essay for the Works Cited page. And it did the work for me. Now I know I always like to double check that this is a good peer-reviewed article, so I make sure that the author is citing others, which they are. And then if I scroll down to the bottom, this is the bottom of the paper, I'm going to see an extensive reference list. So this person has cited all of these people throughout their paper. And here's a tip. What you can do is go through the titles and see if they are on your topic. So if there's an article here that looks promising, I would copy the title and put it into our search engine and see if we own that article or book. So this is a tip for all your courses. You can do this for any essay. If you find a great scholarly article, peer-reviewed article, it's right on your topic, you're going to use it for sure. Look at the reference list to see what sources they used, and then you can use those yourself. So if I go back to the results page here, again, we have the little email icon as well, and we have the little cite button. I click that and choose my style. Again, that's pretty good. It's got the italics, page numbers, the name is right. That's good. I would use that. Okay. So that's it for searching. You can start very simply by putting the name of your group or person or event into our search bar and see what we have. We might have newspaper articles, but we probably won't have peer-reviewed. But then think of the bigger picture: Instagram users and influence, politicians and Facebook, and you'll get the bigger picture peer-reviewed articles. Now they might be on another politician like Justin Trudeau, but you can relate it to your politician if both of them are mastering or not mastering social media. So I hope that makes sense. Me and Val are here to help. And in the next slide, I'll give you our information on how to contact us and where we have a guide that goes over the research process.